At exactly 2:17 a.m. on September 8th, 2024, Sam Harris shut down the cargo hold's surveillance aboard the MV Atlantic Fortune. 12 containers filled with military-grade electronics worth $21 million sat unguarded in Houston port. By sunrise, he'd pulled off the largest maritime theft in Texas history, but security footage revealed he wasn't acting alone, and the real mastermind would stun investigators. This was no smash and grab. Sam's every move was calculated. Inside access, precision timing, and a partner no one suspected. But when one small mistake threatened to blow the whole operation, what happened next shocked even the people who thought they knew him. Before we dive into this incredible true crime story, I have to ask, how much time do you have right now? Because once you hear how Sam stole $21 million in plain sight, you won't want to hit pause. If you love stories packed with suspense and brilliant planning, hit that subscribe button and give this video a like. It helps us bring you more gripping stories just like this one. 1 a.m., September 8, 2024, MV Atlantic Fortune Financial Center. Sam's hands trembled as the final $5.2 million processed through the Cayman Islands banking system. 78% complete. Captain Rodriguez's footsteps echoed in the corridor, getting closer. 85% complete. The ship's financial terminal displayed multiple fraud alerts from 3 international banks. 92% complete. Harris, you in there? Rodriguez's voice just outside the door. Sam's finger hovered over the abort key. One click would cancel everything, but also alert every security system on the ship. 96% complete. The door handle turned. Engine emergency alerts are going crazy on my panel. Tommy's voice crackled over Rodriguez's radio. 98% complete. Rodriguez paused, key halfway in the lock. I need to check the engine room first, the captain muttered, footsteps retreating. 100% transfer complete. $21 million vanished into offshore accounts across 7 countries. Sam exhaled for the first time in 4 minutes. His shirt was soaked with sweat. In 72 hours, banking investigators would discover the theft. But by then, Vincent's enforcers would be in federal custody, his family would be safe, and the world would know Atlantic Maritime had been funding terrorists with blood money. He deleted the transaction logs and activated the fake engine diagnostic reports. When Rodriguez returned in 60 seconds, Sam would be the concerned engineer who discovered a catastrophic mechanical failure requiring immediate emergency funding. But first, he had to make one final call to ensure the evidence reached the FBI before Atlantic's executives could destroy it. But to understand how a respected maritime engineer became the most wanted man in Texas, we need to go back 6 months earlier to the moment Sam Harris discovered his gambling debts were the least of his problems. The phone rang at 11:47 p.m. while Sam Harris reviewed engine diagnostics in his cramped Houston apartment. After 22 years as chief marine engineer for Atlantic Maritime Logistics, he could identify every sound his ship made. The MV Atlantic Fortune was his responsibility. 500 feet of steel carrying $500 million in cargo annually. But the voice on the other end was unfamiliar and terrifying. You got 8 weeks, Navy boy. Vincent Torrino's Boston accent cut through the static like a knife. After that, we start with your pretty daughter-in-law, Sarah, then work our way to those grandkids you love so much. Little Emma just turned 6, right? Cute age. Sam's hand shook as he set down the phone. $340,000. His gambling addiction had finally caught up with him, and now his family was paying the price. Years of weekend trips to Louisiana casinos, online poker sessions that stretched until dawn, sports betting that started small and grew into an obsession. His $89,000 salary managing $500 million in cargo annually wouldn't even cover the interest on his debts. The gambling had started innocently enough 5 years ago. A card game with fellow engineers, small stakes, friendly competition. But after his divorce, the loneliness drove him to bigger games. First, the riverboat gaming establishments on Lake Charles, then the high-stakes rooms in New Orleans. Online gaming filled the empty nights when his ship was docked, and sports wagering became a daily habit he couldn't control. The debts accumulated like compound interest. 20,000 became 50,000. 50 became 100. Personal loans from legitimate banks gave way to increasingly dangerous lenders. Vincent Torrino represented the kind of people who didn't accept bankruptcy as an excuse for non-payment. The next morning, desperate for any solution, Sam ran routine diagnostics on the MV Atlantic Fortune docked at Houston Port. Container AX7749 caught his attention immediately. The manifest listed industrial electronics, 12 tons, but weight sensors showed 18 tons. That was military hardware weight. Sam had handled enough legitimate electronics shipments to know the difference between computer components and weapon systems. His security clearance allowed access to restricted cargo documentation. What he found made his stomach turn. The container held advanced missile guidance systems bound for an undisclosed buyer in Syria. The shipping manifest had been falsified, safety certifications forged, and his electronic signature appeared on documents he'd never signed. Someone was using his credentials to authorize illegal weapons shipments. That night, Sam broke into restricted financial records using his engineering access codes. What he uncovered made his blood run cold and changed everything about his understanding of Atlantic maritime. Cash payments stored in the ship's emergency safes, $2.3 million in untraceable bills sitting in compartments he maintained daily. Executive slush funds hidden in maintenance budgets, $8.7 million annually that should have been spent on crew safety and equipment upgrades. Offshore accounts accessible through the ship's banking terminals, $15 million in liquid assets that could be moved with his engineering access codes. His clearance level gave him complete control over money transfer systems during emergency situations. The ship's financial protocols were designed for his level of access during crisis scenarios, where immediate funding could mean the difference between saving the ship or losing millions in cargo. The executives had built their money laundering system around trusting senior engineers like him completely. The encrypted file labeled Operation Deep Water took him 3 hours to crack using the ship's emergency override codes that only senior engineers possessed. What he found inside changed everything about his understanding of Atlantic maritime logistics and revealed a conspiracy that reached into the highest levels of international arms trafficking. Captain Rodriguez found Sam in the server room at 3:22 a.m., supposedly diagnosing network connectivity issues that had been reported earlier by the night shift crew. "Working late again, Harris? You've been putting in extra hours lately? Everything okay with the family situation?" "Just fixing some connectivity problems, Captain. These new security protocols are causing communication delays between the bridge and engine room systems. Should have it resolved by morning shift change." Rodriguez nodded and left, never seeing the Operation Deep Water files displayed on Sam's computer screen. The documents revealed a sophisticated international conspiracy that made Sam's blood run cold and his hands shake with rage. Email chains between CEO Harrison Blackwell and Vice President of Operations Cordelia Nash discussed expanding weapons trafficking through their shipping routes with military precision and casual indifference to human cost. "Marcus is asking too many questions about cargo weight discrepancies," Nash had written in an email dated February 10th. "We need to eliminate liability by removing engineers who know too much about sensitive shipment contents. Make it look like voluntary transfers to other companies." Blackwell's response was chilling in its calculated cruelty. "Agreed completely. Our clients in conflict regions are paying premium rates for discretion. We can't afford engineer interference or regulatory scrutiny. Handle the Marcus situation permanently and quietly." The cargo manifests Sam discovered showed $200 million in illegal equipment moving through Houston Port monthly, systematically disguised as industrial electronics, medical equipment, and agricultural machinery. Container AX7749 held advanced guidance systems bound for hostile operatives. Container BX2156 contained military-grade equipment destined for criminal organizations. Container CX8834 held dangerous components for foreign government forces. Sam's electronic signature had been systematically forged on safety certifications for illegal shipments bound to dangerous organizations, criminal groups, and hostile actors across 3 continents. The executives were methodically setting him up to take the fall if federal authorities ever investigated the operation. His name appeared on dozens of documents authorizing the transport of equipment that had harmed American soldiers in overseas conflicts. One email exchange between Blackwell and Port Authority officials revealed the scope of corruption. "Your monthly payment has increased to $500,000 due to enhanced cargo volumes. Ensure inspections remain superficial for containers marked with red dots." Before we go any further, I have to tell you, we've got a second channel where we bring the most shocking true crime stories to life in full 3D visualizations. You'll see exactly how these heists, murders, and disappearances unfolded, as if you were standing right there when it happened. Click the link that just popped up in the top right corner, or check the description below to see it for yourself. Hidden deeper in the financial systems, Sam discovered detailed records of systematic theft from company operational funds. Money allocated for crew salaries, safety equipment, and legitimate ship maintenance had been systematically diverted by executives into numbered Swiss accounts in Cayman Islands shell companies. The company was literally stealing from its own employees while risking their lives transporting instruments of death. Another engineer, Marcus Webb, had been investigating the financial theft 4 months ago before he transferred suddenly to another company. Sam found Webb's detailed investigation notes hidden in system backup files. Webb had documented $47 million in diverted funds, photographed forged shipping manifests, and recorded conversations with executives discussing weapons sales. Webb's final access log showed him in the computer center at 3 a.m. on February 15th, copying financial records to encrypted external drives. His employment termination was processed 6 hours later, with a company memo stating he had accepted a lucrative position with a European shipping firm. A comprehensive search revealed no employment records for Marcus Webb at any maritime company worldwide since his departure from Atlantic. Over the following weeks, Sam carefully installed financial monitoring software on Captain Rodriguez's computer during routine maintenance calls, cloned access cards for secure terminals using equipment from the ship's electronics workshop, and mapped the company's banking network during legitimate system updates. The security protocols were designed to trust senior engineers completely, giving him unprecedented access to financial systems. Tommy Chen, the night watchman who'd worked the docks for 15 years, started asking questions that made Sam increasingly nervous. "You've been accessing the financial systems lately, Sam? Feels like someone's always in that secure office after midnight, and the computer logs show your access card being used." "Just running diagnostics, Tommy. You know how these new banking systems are. Always need maintenance and updates to keep everything running smoothly." But Tommy wasn't convinced, and his detailed shift reports started documenting unusual activity patterns that correlated with Sam's duty schedule. Sam realized he was running out of time before someone noticed his investigation and started asking harder questions. Vincent called again 4 weeks later, his voice carrying the weight of serious threat and growing impatience. "4 weeks left, Navy boy. My associates are getting impatient, and they don't like waiting around. Your grandson just started kindergarten, right? Cute kid. Be a shame if something happened to him on the way to school." Sam's son, Michael, had been getting visits at work from well-dressed men asking detailed questions about his father's finances, gambling habits, and family schedule. His daughter-in-law, Sarah, refused to let Sam see the grandchildren anymore, terrified after strangers had approached little Emma at her school playground asking about her grandfather. "Dad, what did you get yourself into?" Michael demanded during a tense, late-night phone call. "Sarah's talking about moving back to her mother's house in California. These people know where we live, where Emma goes to school, where I work. What the hell did you do to make enemies like this?" That night, Sam studied Atlantic Maritime's financial vulnerabilities with the same military precision and systematic approach he'd learned during his Navy service. $25 million in emergency operational funds accessible through engineering terminals during officially declared crisis situations. Executive slush fund accounts with minimal oversight, designed for rapid access during urgent business opportunities that couldn't wait for board approval. Maintenance budgets that could be redirected without immediate detection, as long as proper supporting documentation existed in company systems. He planned 3 carefully orchestrated operations with escalating complexity and risk. A $100,000 test run to verify his access and procedures, a $2 million intermediate theft to satisfy Vincent temporarily while maintaining his cover, then an $18.9 million final score that would solve his debt problem permanently and give him enough money to disappear with his family if the situation became too dangerous. The test operation required perfect timing and flawless execution. Sam chose a Wednesday night during a legitimate maintenance window that provided ideal cover for unusual system access. He studied the ship's emergency repair protocols for weeks, identifying exactly which procedures would justify immediate cash transfers without triggering audit alerts. Emergency pump system repairs were perfect, a routine procedure that frequently required immediate funding for specialized parts and technical expertise from certified maritime suppliers. The documentation requirements were minimal, and engineers had broad discretionary authority to authorize expenditures up to $150,000 without secondary approval. Sam carefully created a complete paper trail 3 days in advance. He registered Specialized Maritime Solutions LLC using a false identity and rented post office box in Louisiana. He opened business banking accounts with forged incorporation documents and fake business licenses. He created a professional website advertising hydraulic engineering consulting services with testimonials from fictional satisfied customers. The fake invoices were masterpieces of deception. Sam used authentic Atlantic Maritime purchase order formats copied from legitimate transactions he'd processed over the years. The technical specifications were accurate and detailed, describing specialized hydraulic pump components that actually existed and would be required for the type of emergency repairs he was documenting. Wednesday night at 11:47 p.m., Sam initiated the operation. He used his authorized engineering access to declare an emergency pump system failure in the engine room, complete with fabricated diagnostic data showing catastrophic pressure loss that required immediate attention. The system automatically generated work orders and budget authorization for emergency repairs. At exactly 12:15 a.m., Sam transferred $100,000 from the maintenance budget to his offshore consulting account, documenting the payment as emergency procurement of specialized hydraulic components from Specialized Maritime Solutions. He programmed a 48-hour delay before the transaction would appear in routine financial reports, giving him time to create additional supporting paperwork. At 2:47 a.m., just as the transfer was processing through international banking networks, Captain Rodriguez ran his monthly random financial diagnostics as part of standard security protocols. Sam heard Rodriguez's footsteps approaching the financial center and quickly minimized the banking windows, diving into the engine room maintenance tunnel just as the captain entered. Rodriguez spent 15 minutes reviewing financial reports and noticed the emergency maintenance transfer processing through the system. "Maintenance spending looks unusually high this quarter," he muttered to himself, making detailed notes for follow-up review. "These emergency repairs are getting expensive. Need to review our supplier contracts." Sam remained hidden in the cramped maintenance tunnel for 30 minutes after Rodriguez left, his heart pounding and clothes soaked with sweat. The $100,000 transfer completed successfully at 3:23 a.m., appearing in company financial records as routine maintenance expenditure for critical hydraulic system repairs. Tommy Chen logged the unusual late-night terminal access in his detailed security report, noting that Sam's credentials had been used during scheduled maintenance hours, but questioning why financial systems required access during mechanical repairs. The report went to Rodriguez's desk, but was buried under routine administrative paperwork. Vincent's next phone call carried a tone of grudging respect mixed with continued threat. "One payment down, Navy boy. Shows you're serious about solving this problem, but you still owe $240,000, and my bosses want the full amount by the original deadline. Hope that little engineering trick of yours scales up significantly, because my patience definitely doesn't." 3 days later, Rodriguez scheduled a comprehensive financial audit within 72 hours after noticing irregularities in maintenance spending patterns. Sam realized he had to move to Phase 2 immediately or risk exposure of his test theft. Atlantic Maritime executives flew to Singapore for their annual arms dealing conference, leaving skeleton financial oversight at Houston operations. The timing was perfect. Thursday evening through Monday morning with minimal audit supervision and delayed reporting systems that wouldn't catch irregularities until executives return. Vincent's deadline loomed closer with each passing day. 2 weeks left, Navy boy. Time for the big score. My associates are asking questions about your payment plan, and I'm running out of answers. Michael called in a panic late Thursday night. "Dad, they threatened Sarah and the kids at Emma's school today. A man approached Sarah in the parking lot and said they knew our address, our schedules, everything. What did you do to these people?" The house received an official foreclosure notice Friday morning. Sam had 12 days before losing the family home he'd bought 20 years earlier with his Navy disability benefits. The second theft targeted executive discretionary funds used for emergency operational expenses, a slush fund designed for rapid business opportunities that required immediate cash flow. Sam created documentation for a fake critical engine overhaul, requiring immediate parts procurement from European suppliers. Friday night timing provided 72-hour banking delays for cover, as international transfers processed more slowly over weekends. At 11:23 p.m., just as Sam began initiating the $2 million transfer sequence, Captain Rodriguez performed an unscheduled surprise inspection of ship systems as part of his security protocol. "Working late again, Harris?" Rodriguez entered the financial center unexpectedly. Sam quickly switched computer screens to actual diagnostic software, showing legitimate engine monitoring data. "Engine temperature concerns, Captain. These readings look problematic. We might have bearing issues developing in the main engine." Rodriguez spent 20 minutes carefully reviewing engine data and temperature readings while Sam's transfer continued processing in background windows. "Keep monitoring those readings, Harris. If those bearings fail, we'll be dead in the water for weeks." $2 million transferred successfully through 3 different offshore banks, appearing in company records as emergency parts procurement from North Sea Maritime Solutions, a real company Sam had used for legitimate purchases over the years, making the transaction nearly undetectable during routine audits. Tommy documented access patterns showing correlation between unusual financial terminal activity and Sam's duty shifts, reporting his concerns to Port Authority security. Pattern analysis suggests someone with legitimate access is using systems for unauthorized purposes during off hours. With $2.1 million stolen and Vincent temporarily satisfied with partial payment, Sam discovered the Executive Emergency Slush Fund containing $18.9 million in untraceable cash reserves. The money was designated for crisis management and urgent opportunities with minimal documentation requirements. It was enough to disappear forever and protect his family from Vincent's threats. Port Authority security began investigating financial irregularities reported by Tommy and scheduled comprehensive audit interviews with all personnel having financial access, starting Monday morning with Sam Harris as the primary interview subject. Saturday night, 11:55 p.m., Sam's most ambitious and dangerous plan: create comprehensive documentation for a catastrophic engine failure requiring immediate replacement funding. Transfer $18.9 million to multiple offshore accounts as emergency shipyard payments. Complete everything before Monday's federal investigation began. The plan required precise timing, flawless technical execution, and nerves of steel. Any single mistake would result in immediate discovery, federal prosecution, and life imprisonment. Sam had spent 2 weeks studying every detail of the ship's emergency protocols, banking procedures, and security vulnerabilities. He'd created 7 different offshore shell companies over the preceding month, each with legitimate-looking business documentation, professional websites, and established banking relationships. Emergency Marine Engineering Corporation appeared to be a legitimate crisis consultation firm based in Norway. North Atlantic Shipyard had a convincing online presence, showing decades of emergency repair experience. Critical System Solutions maintained offices in 3 countries with testimonials from satisfied maritime clients. 11:58 p.m. Sam accessed the financial center using his legitimate night duty credentials, part of his regular weekend security rotation that gave him unrestricted access to all ship systems without raising suspicion. 12:02 a.m. He initiated critical engine emergency protocols in the ship's computer systems, creating a cascade of automated alerts that would support his cover story. The emergency protocols were designed to bypass normal authorization procedures during life-threatening mechanical failures. Sam's fingers flew across multiple keyboards as he simultaneously manipulated engine diagnostic systems, financial transfer protocols, and emergency documentation procedures. Years of maritime engineering experience allowed him to create convincing technical data that would fool even expert inspection. 12:05 a.m. He generated detailed false engineering reports showing imminent catastrophic engine failure that would leave the ship dead in the water and potentially cause environmental disaster if the engine seized completely. The reports included fabricated temperature readings, pressure measurements, and vibration analysis that perfectly matched genuine emergency scenarios he'd witnessed during his naval service. 12:08 a.m. Sam began the $18.9 million transfer sequence through 7 different offshore banks in multiple countries, each transaction carefully structured to minimize traceability and avoid triggering automated fraud detection systems. Each financial transfer was meticulously crafted to appear completely legitimate injustifiable under emergency maritime protocols. $3.2 million to Emergency Marine Engineering Corporation for immediate crisis assessment, consultation, and technical expertise during the unfolding mechanical emergency. $4.7 million to North Atlantic Shipyard for emergency dry dock booking, facility preparation, and priority scheduling to prevent total ship loss. $5.8 million to Critical System Solutions for replacement engine procurement, expedited international shipping, and specialized installation equipment. $5.2 million to Maritime Crisis Management Services for round-the-clock technical support, emergency logistics coordination, and regulatory compliance during the crisis. 12:35 a.m. Rodriguez boarded the ship unexpectedly after receiving automated emergency alerts about critical engine problems, heading directly for the financial center to investigate the massive emergency expenditures that had triggered banking security protocols. 12:37 a.m. Sam heard Rodriguez's familiar footsteps echoing through the ship's corridors. The sound sent adrenaline surging through his system as he realized the captain was approaching faster than expected. $13.7 million had transferred successfully through international banking networks, but the final $5.2 million was still processing through the complex Cayman Islands banking system with multiple security verification layers. 12:38 a.m. Rodriguez entered the financial center just as Sam dove under the metal desk to hide, his heart hammering as the transfer status displayed 78% complete on the computer screen directly above his hiding place. One glance at the screen would expose everything. Rodriguez's radio crackled to life at exactly the right moment. "Captain, we've got engine emergency alerts appearing all over my security monitoring panel," Tommy's concerned voice reported. "Temperature warnings, pressure alerts. The whole system is going crazy down here." 12:39 a.m. The radio call saved Sam's operation. Rodriguez immediately shifted focus from the financial center to the reported engine emergency, his maritime training prioritizing mechanical crisis over administrative concerns. 12:41 a.m. Rodriguez left immediately to check the engine room for physical signs of the reported catastrophic failure. Sam emerged from his cramped hiding place and watched the transfer progress bar creep toward completion with agonizing slowness. 89% complete, 94% complete, 97% complete. Every keystroke during those final critical moments could have meant discovery, arrest, and federal prosecution. Every second counted as the final $5.2 million processed through multiple international banking systems with sophisticated security protocols, fraud detection algorithms, and automated regulatory compliance checks. Automated banking fraud alerts triggered simultaneously at 3 different international banks, as the large transfers exceeded normal thresholds for emergency maritime expenditures. The alerts were automatically forwarded to federal banking authorities, Port Security, and Atlantic Maritime's Corporate Risk Management Department. 12:47 a.m. Transfer completion confirmed across all banking systems. All $18.9 million had been successfully moved to secure offshore accounts in 7 different countries, each transfer appearing legitimate and properly documented according to emergency maritime protocols. 12:52 a.m. Port Authority vehicles entered the dock area, responding to Tommy's security alerts about unusual system activity occurring simultaneously across multiple ship systems. 12:54 a.m. Rodriguez returned to the financial center, finding Sam apparently investigating the engine emergency alerts that had triggered throughout the ship's monitoring systems. Sam had quickly switched to legitimate diagnostic screens showing the fabricated emergency data he'd programmed into the ship's computers. 1 a.m. Rodriguez found Sam at the financial terminal with multiple banking fraud alerts displaying across computer screens. $21 million in completed transfers visible in transaction logs. "Harris, what the hell are these banking fraud alerts about? The FBI is asking about unauthorized transfers from our company accounts, and Port Security is demanding immediate explanations." Sam immediately showed Rodriguez the elaborately fabricated engine diagnostic reports displayed prominently on his computer screen. "Captain, we've got critical bearing failure developing in the main engine systems. I had to authorize emergency repairs immediately. We'll be completely dead in the water by morning without immediate parts replacement and professional intervention." Rodriguez carefully examined the technical data displayed on Sam's computer screen with growing concern. The diagnostic readings appeared completely authentic, with temperature and pressure measurements that convincingly supported the emergency scenario Sam had created. This is catastrophic failure territory, Harris. Why didn't the automated alarm systems trigger earlier to warn us about developing problems? I caught it during my routine maintenance check, Captain. The automated systems would have failed to detect this until complete seizure occurred. I had to act fast to prevent total engine loss and potential environmental disaster. Port Authority agents entered with official fraud alerts from multiple international banks. We're investigating $21 million in unauthorized transfers from Atlantic maritime accounts. All transactions originated from this terminal in the last 2 hours. Rodriguez faced an impossible choice that would determine Sam's fate. The engine diagnostic data supported Sam's emergency story, but $21 million was an enormous sum for emergency repairs. Captain, check the engine room yourself, Sam urged desperately. The bearing temperature is critical. You'll see the emergency is real. Every dollar went to legitimate emergency repairs to save the ship and protect the port. Rodriguez headed directly to the engine room for physical inspection that would either vindicate Sam's story or expose him as a thief. If he discovered the engine was perfectly functional, Sam would be arrested for federal theft. If Sam's falsified sensor readings and diagnostic reports fooled the inspection, he would be proven a legitimate hero. Tommy provided crucial testimony to Port Authority investigators. I've been tracking unusual activity for weeks. Sam's been accessing financial systems during off hours, but tonight's engine emergency alerts support his emergency repair story. 1:15 a.m., Rodriguez carefully examined the actual engine while Port Authority agents waited for his assessment. He methodically checked bearings, temperature readings, pressure measurements, and vibration levels. Everything appeared completely normal. The engine was in perfect working condition with no signs of impending failure. Rodriguez returned to Sam with the devastating verdict. Harris, that engine is running perfectly. There's no emergency, no bearing failure, nothing wrong at all. You just stole $21 million from the company. Sam played his final card, his last desperate gambit. Captain, before you call me a thief, check your offshore accounts. Check the company's real financial records. See where that money actually came from. Rodriguez accessed executive financial records using Sam's harvested passwords and security codes. What he discovered on the screen shocked him beyond belief. The $21 million had originated from illegal arms trafficking profits, weapons sales to known terrorist organizations, and blood money from conflicts that had killed American soldiers worldwide. Federal agents reviewed the evidence in real time on Rodriguez's computer screen. The stolen money had originated from systematic weapons trafficking operations spanning 3 years. Sam hadn't stolen from Atlantic Maritime's legitimate funds. He had intercepted money from arms dealers and terrorists. While authorities investigated the shocking revelations, Sam's carefully programmed delayed transmission system activated across multiple networks. Complete weapons trafficking records reached 23 different federal agencies simultaneously. International arms monitoring organizations received detailed shipping manifests documenting illegal weapons sales. Maritime safety boards obtained evidence of systematically falsified cargo certifications. Military intelligence agencies received comprehensive terrorist buyer identification and transaction records. The documentation exposed $200 million in illegal equipment sales over 3 years to 47 different hostile organizations that had received Atlantic maritime shipments. Port officials had accepted $15 million in bribes to ignore suspicious manifests and skip required inspections. Rodriguez provided detailed testimony about executive orders to falsify shipping manifests, bribe port officials, and hide weapons shipments from federal inspectors. Tommy's meticulously detailed security logs corroborated Sam's investigation timeline and proved systematic security violations designed specifically to hide trafficking operations. Agent, Rodriguez told federal investigators with absolute conviction, this man just intercepted hostile financing. Every single dollar he took was blood money from illegal equipment sales. He's not a thief. He's a patriot who risked everything to stop illegal dealers. Federal agents immediately shifted their focus from prosecuting Sam to investigating Atlantic Maritime's extensive weapons trafficking network. Sam provided complete cooperation in exchange for full immunity from theft charges. Within hours, media explosion followed nationwide. Ship engineer exposes massive illegal trafficking ring. Father risks life to stop equipment reaching hostile groups. The hero who broke the maritime conspiracy. Public reaction split dramatically between those calling Sam a hero and legal experts debating maritime theft versus preventing illegal trafficking. Military families overwhelmingly supported him for stopping dealers who had supplied equipment used against American troops. Federal prosecutors offered an unprecedented cooperation agreement, full immunity for all theft charges in exchange for comprehensive trafficking testimony, complete witness protection for his family during trials, and total restitution from seized trafficking assets worth over $200 million. The investigation rapidly expanded beyond Atlantic Maritime to expose a network of 8 shipping companies involved in systematic arms dealing, an international weapons syndicate worth $2 billion annually, and port corruption affecting every major American harbor from coast to coast. Atlantic Maritime executives were arrested on federal terrorism charges. International arms dealers faced immediate extradition and life sentences in multiple countries. Port officials were charged with accepting bribes to ignore weapons shipments destined for terrorist organizations. Emergency maritime security legislation required real-time cargo manifest verification for all international shipments, independent inspections of high-value cargo containers, and severe criminal penalties for executives who facilitate arms trafficking. 6 months later, with $21 million in offshore accounts, Sam paid off his gambling debts completely and provided crucial evidence leading to Vincent's arrest for loan sharking and threatening federal witnesses. Vincent received a 15-year federal sentence. Sam became a highly paid federal maritime security consultant specializing in financial crime detection. Vincent was serving time in federal prison, the trafficking ring was completely destroyed, and his grandchildren were safe from all threats. He kept $2 million as payment for exposing terrorism, enough to secure his family's future permanently. The federal trials resulted in 23 executives sentenced to life in federal prison, $2 billion in criminal assets seized and redirected to military family support programs, and complete overhaul of maritime cargo security protocols nationwide. Rodriguez served 2 years supervised probation, then worked as a maritime security consultant, helping investigators identify trafficking operations. Tommy was promoted to Chief Port Security Officer, implementing detection systems that became international standards for preventing weapons smuggling. Sam's case fundamentally transformed global maritime security protocols. 847 illegal shipments were intercepted using detection methods based on his investigative techniques. International cooperation prevented hostile financing worth billions of dollars. The entire shipping industry faced unprecedented transparency requirements in federal oversight. Sometimes good people have to break rules to stop evil, Sam told maritime workers during federal security training sessions. Justice always finds a way to protect innocent people from those who profit from violence. The Harris method became the global standard for maritime security operations. Automated detection systems, real-time trafficking pattern recognition algorithms, and mandatory whistleblower protections for maritime workers worldwide. Anonymous tips continued appearing monthly, exposing new trafficking attempts throughout the industry. Federal investigation revealed they originated from a network of maritime workers inspired by Sam's example. An underground resistance movement called Deepwater that continues monitoring suspicious cargo shipments. Sam Harris became the engineer who turned personal debts into patriotic duty, intercepting hostile money to protect American families. Sometimes breaking rules is the only path to justice when the system itself enables wrongdoing. Subscribe if you think a desperate father stealing from illegal dealers is more justified than executives profiting from hostile activities. Hit that like button if you believe Sam made the right choice, and tell me in the comments, would you have done the same thing if your family was threatened and you discovered your company was funding dangerous groups? What's your line between right and wrong when the system itself is corrupt?